Well, let's cross live to Faust Lanster, an eyewitness to the protests in the Netherlands. Thanks for joining us, Faust. Now, I suppose we need to start with how grave the protests are. Can you give us an idea?
Well, I was there from about 12:30, so midnight, till about 2:15. What I saw was the police didn't have control of the situation for most of the evening. When I arrived, there were Turkish cars owned by Turks driving around the city center, waving flags, honking loudly. The police did not have control of the streets. It took them about 2 hours until the time I left to regain control of the streets. There were certainly over 1,000 people that I saw. Everywhere there were people waving Turkish flags. I heard a lot of shouts of Allahu Akbar, Erdogan. It was quite intimidating, to be honest. I saw water cannons fire a few times and police charges from horse. But it seemed that the police were outnumbered, and I think the main reason that Turks retreated was because they lost spirit because of how long it was taking.
OK, so you're painting a picture, really, of a lot of anger by the ethnic Turks living in the Netherlands. Now, we have heard from Dutch protesters. We'll just have a quick listen.
They say we are fascists and we are a remnant of the Nazis. I'm sorry, but if you say this about us, you don't belong here, and neither do your people. It is as simple as that.
Everybody is welcome in my house, but as soon as they enter, they have to stick to my rules. That's very logical and very clear. And I think that this absolutely didn't happen here yesterday. This has nothing to do with discrimination. It is about knowing how to behave.
Faust, there seems to be a lot of anger on both sides here. Now, as you heard from some of those people talking there, they're claiming that those who enter the country should obey the rules. Do you agree with this?
I agree. If you want to vote on Turkish issues, you should be in Turkey. You don't... Look, I agree with Wilders in the sense that you have one loyalty and one nationality. And I can understand that if you feel Turkish, that you want to have a say in Turkish affairs. But then you should be in Turkey, not the Netherlands.
Well, there's been a further development. We've just heard that the Danish PM's going to cancel or postponing a meeting with the Turkish PM over this issue. Now, what are your thoughts about the fact that democratic principles could be compromised or are under pressure at the moment?
On the side of Turkish electors, you mean, in other countries?
Yeah, across Europe at the moment.
I don't really see it as an infringement of their democratic rights. They have a say in voting in the Netherlands. They get to vote in our elections next Wednesday. They get to say who governs over them. They don't live in Turkey. They should, from a Turkish perspective, not have a say in Turkish affairs either, because what's their stake in their country?
Some are saying that there's an impression that Europe is blocking Turkish officials from speaking at rallies. Why do you think that this seems to be the case at the moment?
Well, in our country, it's specifically because of the upcoming elections, I suspect. They don't want to help Wilders. On the other hand, I think generally it's the sense that Turkey is crossing boundaries, that they really shouldn't be interfering in the politics of other countries. They shouldn't be exhorting their people, I mean Turkish ethnic Turks, to go against the interests of other countries and to vote for Turkish interests. I honestly don't think Turkey has any right to any sort of thing like that.
Well, this spat, it certainly seems to have escalated quite dramatically over the last 24 hours. Do you think this ongoing feud could potentially derail the EU-Turkey migrant deal that's in place at the moment?
Well, it could be held over the EU as a bargaining chip by Turkey, by Erdogan specifically, because Turkey holds all the cards. Basically, the EU paid them off. They bribed them to stop letting refugees through. We have nothing. The EU has nothing to offer them that they don't already have. And if Erdogan doesn't get what he wants, he could just open the refugee floodgates again. And what are we going to do? Enforce our borders? We haven't been doing that for 2 years. I don't see why we'd start now.
Thing is, Faust, what if Erdogan was to scrap the refugee deal? what's your opinion on Europe having the resources to deal with a renewed migrant crisis that could possibly follow?
It tear countries apart. If that were to happen, well, we saw rioting here heavily in the Netherlands in the summer of 2015, where refugee centers were set on fire. There were riots in the streets, banners were hanged. A whole host of extreme right-wing organizations suddenly popped up. If another wave of refugees were to come, I think it would radicalize the native populations even further.
OK, Faust Lanza, eyewitness to the protests in the Netherlands. Thanks very much for talking to us here on RT International.
Thank you.